Happy Juneteenth, everyone, and a happy day it is indeed, because it is the fulfillment of a promise. I remember in 2021 when the decision was made to make Juneteenth a federal holiday, self proclaimed conservative pundits came out online and they were opposed to the idea of making Juneteenth a federal holiday because they believed that making Juneteenth a holiday, federally recognized, would usurp the position of Independence Day, July the 4th. That is not the case. And I hate to say it, but these individuals are woefully ignorant of history. Because if they understood what Juneteenth represented, they would understand that Juneteenth is the fulfillment of the promise that was made on July 4th, 1776. Much like the Old Testament or the Old Covenant in the Bible is the foreshadowing of the fulfillment of the promise of a Messiah in the New Testament, the coming of Christ. These two things work in harmony in the same way. On Independence Day, we have the promise that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. On Juneteenth, we celebrate the fulfillment of that promise. You see, because on Juneteenth in Galveston, Texas, there were many, many slaves. I think something of the neighborhood of 250,000 slaves in the Galveston, Texas area that did not know that the Civil War was over and that they had in fact been freed. They didn't know about the Emancipation Proclamation. They didn't know about that. And it was a Union general who personally delivered the news to them. And the Union Army personally liberated those slaves. That's beautiful. And it was a step in the right direction because slavery wasn't officially abolished until the ratification of the 13th Amendment in December of 1865. But see, a lot of people that don't know their history don't know this. If they knew their history, they would see that these two things are in conflict. I would like to read to you a little bit of an article from Wall Builders, and I'll post the full article in the description, but it hits on the point that I'm making here, that these two holidays are not in conflict with each other. They instead work in harmony. It says, and I quote, Major General Gordon Granger was given command of the military district of Texas after the Civil War. When he arrived in Galveston on June 19, 1865, he announced the Emancipation Proclamation and that the slaves in Texas were free in General Order Number 3. The first time many had heard the good news. Texans began observing Juneteenth annually with various festivities such as picnics, barbecues, and Thanksgiving celebrations. It became a Texas state holiday in 1979. Then, as you all know, it became a federal holiday in 2021. But I don't understand the outrage. This is a beautiful holiday because it commemorates the deliverance of a promise that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with a certain unalienable rights that Jefferson talked about, that their Creator gave it to them, and it is our job to recognize those rights and to protect them. In fact, Juneteenth was a major step toward the deliverance that many of the founding fathers fought for. See, you won't learn this in public school, but 11 of the 13 colonies wanted to abolish slavery right from the get-go. In fact, in the original draft of the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson mocked the King of Great Britain for his abuses of slaves and for his practice of the evils of slavery. I want to read to you a little bit from the original draft of the Declaration of Independence. It says, and I quote, "He has waged cruel war against human nature itself, violating its most sacred rights of life and liberty in the persons of a distant people who never offended him, captivating and carrying them into slavery in another hemisphere, to incur miserable death in the transportation thither. This piratical warfare, the opium of infidel powers, the warfare of the Christian king of Great Britain." It is important to note that when you read that, you'll see that the word Christian is in bold. Why is that? Because Jefferson is mocking the King of Great Britain. Because the King of Great Britain, King George III, claimed to be a Christian. So it should be read, this Christian king enslaves people and has led to their death and enslavement. He's mocking them. He's mocking the actions of Great Britain and the king, who claims to be a Christian, yet is violating one of the basic commands of Christianity. And it should be noted that on Juneteenth, we celebrate the fulfillment of the hard work, not only of the people who died in a bloody civil war to liberate slaves, but the generations of men, yes, even the founding fathers, who did hard work and who knew that this endeavor of ending slavery would likely end in civil war. If you read Jefferson's writings, he feared that it would come to war to abolish slavery. I'll post a link so you can read what I just quoted to you for yourself and see it with your own eyes. These are things that you will not learn in public school. These are things that every American should know, however. And that is why that Juneteenth should be celebrated, because it's commemorating the sacrifice of Americans, white, black, men and women who died and gave their lives to end the cause of slavery. Jefferson himself knew that unfortunately the cause of abolishing slavery would probably result in civil war, and it did. A lot of men had to die so that the promise that was made in the Declaration of Independence could be fulfilled. And that is something that should be celebrated and honored. These two holidays are not in conflict with each other, you see, and too many people would have you believe that because they want you to be at each other's throat. They don't want you to celebrate the same things. They don't want you to realize that this is a country that was founded on the idea that all men are equal, and that our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence serves to first acknowledge the rights of all men and to protect those rights. They want you to think that everything is evil and that it should just be burned down. They want to divide us by race, by class, by religion, anything that they can. And we must not allow them to do that. That is why I think it's important to celebrate both Juneteenth and Independence Day. They're in harmony with one another. Please remember this. Please share it with your friends, because I don't believe enough people realize this, and they should. It's really sad to me. Dig deep into your history. Learn so that you will not be deceived. Open your eyes and realize the truth. We are one nation under God. And that is why that we're in trouble, because we've forgotten that. We've forgotten the good and the bad. We have forgotten all the sacrifices of the people who have died and given their lives to ensure that the promise of liberty is upheld for all people. And that's something that should be celebrated. Please help me get this message out. More people need to hear it because they don't know. Please like, share, and subscribe. It helps out the algorithm and helps to grow my channel. I'll see you in the next video, and happy Juneteenth, guys.